AYELAZUNO, who is senior lecturer at the University of Development Studies. His focus is he lectures political science. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, Sena, and good morning to your team. I'm reaching you from Tamale. Greetings from UDS. I'm not just an academic. I was also a police officer before I joined the academy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You spent time as a police officer?
Yes.
How long were you in the police service?
I was there for 10 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yes. I was there for 10 years before I left, probably when you were still in JSS or so.
That's an interesting idea. But and I know for you, and you are one of those who actually pays particular attention to some of these things when they happen. Do you see politics as play, or like in the case of Afenyo Markin, do you see a germane issue that needs to be looked into?
Yeah, Sena, once again, I always want to speak from a particular perspective of democracy, because we are talking about democracy, and he kept referring to democracy and how acts like the search and probably retrieval of certain things from the former governor of Ghana might affect our image as a democracy negatively. So we are here looking at democracy in action, what might be considered as good practices or good policing in a democracy or good security measures in a democracy. And I just see his approach to fit in the grand scheme of things as far as their political strategy is concerned. Since they lost elections, it has been about just trying to, do as much as they can to remain politically relevant, having suffered this humiliating defeat. So, he being the minority leader is the only hope for the MPP, and he has to engage in this political grandstanding, Rubble, Rousing, and all that, just to, keep his party in the limelight. But coming back to the democracy, some time ago I referred to our democracy as competitive elitism. So this is what Afenyo Markin thinks democracy should be.
He thinks democracy is competitive elitism.
Change leaders, rotate power between the elites, and the elites should somehow be treated differently from the ordinary citizens. Never mind, democracy is about the power of the people. Now, listen, when it comes to security and democratic policing, yes, democracy, you have to observe certain procedures, you have to respect the rights of everybody, including the ordinary person, not just the political elites. But for national security and in terms of fighting corruption, you sometimes will have to, and I think the law allows the police to enter your house, to search your vehicle without warrant in certain exceptional circumstances. Because just imagine that there is a suspicion that weapons are in somebody's house and the person is preparing to commit a crime. Just imagine that there is information that somebody is a political exposed person or a politician who now is no longer in power, has a lot of money stolen from the public, that he or she is about to move to a different location. Will that require that the police will now go to the court and follow the procedure, get a warrant? And what would that mean for national security or the fight against corruption. So, I mean, just like an ordinary person can be searched without warrant, can be arrested without warrant, the political elites too can be treated the same way. But he's just speaking what he says every day, so that he really believes in this elitist approach to democracy, or elitist democracy, where the political class think that they are special, they must be treated special. So he and his cronies and his party officials who were in power, if they are accused or alleged to be involved in a crime, they must be treated special. And what does he mean by we are returning to the past? If he's talking about the past in terms of actions that actually negate democracy, then he should refer to what happened just in the last 8 years, when journalists were harassed, when journalists had to run away, when people were killed without any investigation. And then let him come back and tell us that what is happening now is giving us a bad name as a democracy. He should refer to just the past 8 years and then tell us what he means by we are returning to the past.
I see. Very interesting view. First, you say what you see is a continuation of a strategy. That's what you see from him.
Yes, and not just from him. If you watch, even in the academia, we have some platforms that WhatsApp platforms for various intellectual groups. You see, the same grandstanding, the same fishing expedition for, something that they can use against the new government. The same approach of Rubble Rousing, trying to just create a situation that does not exist. The criticisms, yes, criticize as you want, but you have to be reasonable sometimes. But you even hear some intellectuals who expect that within 2 months, this government must be judged with the same measuring rod as the 8 years of the previous government. What kind of dubious intellectualism is this? I mean, how can you 2 months and you are already trying to measure somebody's performance against 8 years? It doesn't make sense. But this is the only way they can, grave about their law. This is the only way they think they can stay relevant till because they see 2028 to be so far away. They cannot wait for the campaign to start. This is the way to just stay relevant, especially the opposition leader. He is the face of the party. So he expects to lead his caucus to make a lot of noise, to do grandstanding, to try to stall things as much as possible, so that the media can capture this. And so it is in their political strategy towards 2028. They have already started.
And then you talked about how you see his views, because he keeps talking about we, the political class, should not treat each other this way. You said that is it democratic elitism? How dangerous is that?
Very, very dangerous. And this is the reason why some scholars have argued that democracy in its elitist form is actually a contrivance or a kind of scheme for the political elite to take over the state and then just pat each other on the back in the name of, democracy. So they expect to be that when you come to power, you treat your your opponent with kid blows when even you need to, enforce the law. So he's thinking that they, the political class, are a special class. And for that matter, it will be abominable for a political opponent to even try to, treat them otherwise. But you just did that in the past 8 years. You were just doing the same thing, and it's dangerous in the sense that the ordinary people can lose trust in democracy. And as you are aware, Afrobarometer has documented with fine-grained research that Ghanaians are losing trust in democracy, and this is a recipe for, political instability. Because when you look at the past, coup d'etats and all these political conflicts that have happened in Africa are sometimes caused by the lack of trust. And for that matter, leaders lose legitimacy. Especially in a democracy, they lose legitimacy as elected leaders. So I am saying it straightforward to the present government that if they fail the people, if they don't take firm action against past bad deeds like corruption and allow the opposition party to use this pretext of our image as a model of democracy, and for that matter, what you are doing, you are trying to, kind of damage that brand of Ghana, then you are just playing into their tricks, because they are already planning towards 2028, and they want to bring all these things and to stop you. You don't do what the people voted you to do, because for God's sake, the massive victory that was given to the NDC is not about them being having been good leaders before, but they just happen to be the better alternative. So they have to stay on course and stay away from what they did previously, and they should not even venture to get close to what the previous, the former president did or the former government did in the last 8 years. In terms of corruption, people want them to fight corruption, and they must not only be fighting it in theory or in their political rhetoric, they must be seen to be doing so. Otherwise, they will lose the confidence, they will lose the trust of the people.
It's still, because if you look at the way our politics works, it's quite interesting. For example, you recall when it was reported that some persons have entered the house of the former finance minister. Before you know, even the majority leader was criticizing persons from national security without even have a full appreciation of the facts involved. There's always the tendency for others maybe those in the MPP to appeal to those in the NDC. For example, this morning, there may be an arrest. Then somebody from the MPP calls somebody he knows within the NDC to prevail on the investigative bodies to either let him go or not hold him for too long, among others. That interconnectedness, does it not make it difficult to avoid some of the things you're talking about?
Exactly. So they have their job cut out for them. I mean, the present NDC government, they have their job cut out for them. Whether they want to stay on this course of elitism, what do you mean by, rebuking the national security agencies for going to the finance minister's house to search without even appraising yourself with the facts? You are just trying to play that elitist or that game of elitism. I mean, that elite club of politicians. And this was one of the fears of Rawlings. This was one of the fears of Nkrumah, that they call them dictators. When you look at Nkrumah and you look at Rawlings, the ordinary people didn't have a problem with them the people who had problems with them were the political elite, because their approach seemed not to give them the opportunity to come to power to do what they wish. That is, become elite, special citizens, and then amass wealth through corruption. These two leaders didn't want to do that. And so they were very apprehensive. They were reticent about the democratic system, because they thought that this is likely to be the result, that elites will take over the reins of power and then do what? And then just rotate themselves around through the ritual of 4 yearly elections, and then to protect each other. But we have to bear in mind that this country, people were shot for, very pittance, like the money that we see that is considered to have been stolen from the state compared to what people were alleged to have taken and they were shot. You cannot even, you cannot even begin to talk about any comparison, because these days they talk about billions, millions, and they just talk about it as if these millions of dollars or cedis is nothing, but it's a lot of money. And that's the reason why, the poor people are suffering. They don't have health facilities. So, school children are still attending school under trees. Some are even have to lie on their bellies to write. And these political elites have amassed wealth, and they are behaving like they are special citizens. So this is pure political elitism, which the NDC must fight. If they don't do it, then the people will not distinguish them from the MPP that they have voted out of power.
I see. Let me conclude with your perhaps your advice to those who have the job of carrying out these investigations, because you are having a minority leader on your back constantly saying things, even accusing you of theft, whilst you insist that I have done my job legally and lawfully. And also the fact of balancing an investigation. An investigation is usually done silently without giving out too much detail. How do they respond to this kind of, because then the investigation is being dragged through the mud publicly in that way? What are they supposed to do?
What they are supposed to do is allow the professionals who are in the police, who are in national security, the Attorney General, the the Special Office of the Special Prosecutor, to do their job. They are professionals. They know how to do this work in a democratic system, and allow and leave the politics of Rubble, Rousing, political grandstanding to Afenyo Markin to do with his caucus. It is now left with the NDC as a party to match him boot for boot. Because leaving him to just have his way like he does, like you see the second deputy or speaker, being so, nice and all those things, they are playing softball with people who are concerned to come to power in 2028. And these people do not care. It's not about Ghanaians that they are doing this. It's about the fact that they have lost power and they must come back to power. And the NDC was voted back to power, as I said, not because they are considered to be some, wonderful group of people who haven't done anything wrong when they were in government, but it's just because they are considered in the democratic system that we have, they are the only alternative to this other party, especially under the former government, that has taken Ghana way, way back. So they have to consider this as power given to them by the people, and they have to keep their trust. And they can only do that by what they are doing, to fish out those people who are alleged to have been corrupt and deal with them. Don't treat them with kid gloves, because any ordinary citizen who is even alleged to have stolen a goat, a bunch of cassava, or plantain, you only need to know, I was a police officer before, you only need to know how they are normally treated. So there's no way you can say you can do this to prevent the security agencies from working. They are professionals, they will do their work well, so it is just for the government to leave national security, the police, and other security agencies to do their work. And that is the only way to stay out of this political theatrics that Afenyo Markin is playing. That is the NDC MPs and communicators who take him on that at that level. Then let the security agencies do their work.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Professor JASPER AYELAZUNO is a senior lecturer at University of Development Studies, actually professor of political science at the University of Development Studies. Join us on the line all the way from Tamale to share thoughts on what we are discussing. 2 arrests. One arrest. The other one involves the search of the house of a former governor of the Bank of Ghana. What? Me sometimes when certain things happen in our country,